During our wedding reception, my sister-in-law gave what started as a loving toast but turned into a vicious attack, claiming I was marrying for money and didn't deserve to be part of their family. The prenup documents I'd insisted on signing proved I was worth more than my husband and had protected my own assets. Before I dive into this story of wedding day betrayal and the most satisfying financial revelation imaginable, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button if you've ever been accused of gold digging when you were actually the one with the gold, and subscribe to True Revenge for more stories of family accusations backfiring spectacularly. My name is Victoria, I'm 31 years old, and this story begins with what should have been the happiest day of my life and ends with the most shocking confrontation at my wedding reception. What happened in between taught me that some family members will poison even your most sacred moments with their jealousy and assumptions. I met my husband Michael at a charity gala in 2022. I was there representing the marketing firm where I worked as a senior partner, and he was attending as a board member of his family's construction company. We struck up a conversation about nonprofit fundraising strategies, and I was impressed by his genuine commitment to community service. Michael comes from the Patterson family, which has owned Patterson Construction for 3 generations. It's a successful regional company that specializes in commercial building projects, but it's not the kind of massive wealth that people imagine when they think of family money. Michael himself is a hard-working project manager who earns a solid middle-class income. He's comfortable but not wealthy in any dramatic sense. He drives a practical truck, lives in a modest house, and spends his free time coaching youth soccer rather than pursuing expensive hobbies. What Michael's family didn't know about me was that I had built significant wealth through my career in marketing and strategic investments. I started my career at 22 as an entry-level marketing coordinator, but I had a natural talent for digital marketing strategies and client relationship management. Within 5 years, I had worked my way up to account director at a major firm. 28, I made the decision to leave corporate marketing and start my own consulting practice. Using $150,000 I'd saved over 6 years plus a business loan, I launched Sterling Marketing Solutions, which specialized in helping small businesses develop effective online marketing strategies. Timing was perfect. Small businesses were increasingly recognizing the importance of digital marketing but lacked the expertise to develop effective strategies on their own. My firm provided high-quality consulting at prices that small businesses could afford. Within 2 years, Sterling Marketing had grown to 8 employees and annual revenues of $1.8 million. I was profitable, growing rapidly, and building a reputation as one of the most effective marketing consultants in our region. More importantly, I had been investing consistently since my early 20s. A combination of conservative investments, real estate, and business equity had built my net worth to approximately $2.3 million by the time I met Michael. When Michael and I began dating, I didn't emphasize the extent of my financial success. I lived modestly, drove a practical car, and preferred spending money on experiences rather than luxury goods. Michael knew I owned a marketing firm, but he assumed it was a small operation similar to many other local service businesses. This assumption was reinforced by his family's reaction to our relationship. I have 2 siblings-in-law, Michael's older brother David, who's 35 and works as Patterson Construction's operations manager, and David's wife Jennifer, who's 33 and works part-time as a real estate agent. From our first meeting, Jennifer treated me with thinly veiled suspicion and condescension. She seemed to view me as someone who was trying to marry above her station and gain access to the Patterson family's wealth. "It's so sweet that Michael found someone who appreciates him for who he is," Jennifer would say with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sure you understand that our family is very protective of each other, especially when it comes to people who might have ulterior motives." Her comments were always phrased as concern for Michael's well-being, but the subtext was clear. She thought I was a gold digger who was targeting her brother-in-law for financial gain. During family gatherings, Jennifer would make subtle comments about my career, my background, and my intentions. "Marketing consulting must be such an unstable income," she'd observe. "It's probably nice to date someone with a more established financial foundation." Or, "I hope Victoria understands that Michael is very generous, maybe too generous sometimes." He needs someone who loves him for himself, not for what he can provide. The most annoying aspect of Jennifer's behavior was that she positioned herself as the family's financial guardian, despite the fact that her own contribution to household income was minimal and her lifestyle was largely supported by David's salary. Michael was aware that Jennifer was making these comments, but he attributed them to overprotectiveness rather than recognizing the insulting assumptions she was making about my character and motivations. "She'll warm up to you once she gets to know you better," he'd assure me. Jennifer's always been suspicious of new people, but she means well. As our relationship became more serious and we began discussing marriage, Jennifer's comments became more direct and more frequent. "I just hope Victoria knows that prenups are common in families like ours," she mentioned during one family dinner. "It's important to protect family assets when there's a significant financial imbalance in relationships." "Jennifer," Michael's mother interrupted, "that's not really appropriate dinner conversation." "I'm just being practical, Mom. Victoria seems lovely, but we all need to be smart about financial planning when family businesses are involved." The assumption that I was marrying Michael for access to Patterson Construction's assets was both insulting and ironic, given that my personal net worth exceeded Michael's by a significant margin. When Michael and I got engaged in December 2023, I decided to address the financial assumptions directly. "Michael," I said during a conversation about wedding planning, "I think we should consider a prenuptial agreement." He looked surprised. "Do you think that's necessary?" "I trust you completely, and I'm not worried about financial issues." "It's not about trust," I explained. "It's about protecting both of our assets and making sure we're both entering marriage with clear expectations about financial responsibilities." Michael agreed to discuss prenups with a family law attorney, though he seemed puzzled about why I was initiating the conversation. What he didn't expect was that the prenup would primarily protect my assets rather than his. During our meeting with the attorney, we disclosed our respective financial situations. Michael's net worth was approximately $180,000, including his house, retirement accounts, and his small ownership stake in Patterson Construction. My disclosed net worth was $2.3 million, including business equity, real estate investments, retirement accounts, and liquid assets. The attorney looked at the numbers and turned to Michael. "Mr. Patterson, I want to make sure you understand that this prenuptial agreement would primarily protect Victoria's assets, since she's bringing significantly more wealth to the marriage." Michael stared at the financial disclosure forms like he was reading them in a foreign language. "Victoria, I had no idea your business was so successful," he said. "Why didn't you tell me you were, well, wealthy?" "Because it didn't seem relevant to our relationship," I replied. "I wanted you to get to know me as a person, not as a financial opportunity or threat." Prenup we ultimately signed protected my business assets, investment accounts, and real estate from becoming marital property. It also specified that in the event of divorce, neither party would have claims on the other's premarital assets. Essentially, the document protected my wealth from Michael, not the other way around. Michael was impressed and slightly embarrassed that he had underestimated my financial situation so dramatically. "I feel like an idiot," he admitted. "Here I was thinking I was the financially stable one in this relationship, and you've got more money than my entire family combined." "Money isn't why I'm marrying you," I assured him. "I'm marrying you because you're kind, thoughtful, and genuinely care about making the world a better place." We decided not to share the details of the prenup with our families, though we mentioned that we had signed one as part of our general financial planning. Our wedding was planned for June 2024, with a ceremony at St. Andrew's Church followed by a reception for 200 guests at the Riverside Country Club. The wedding planning process was mostly smooth, though Jennifer occasionally made comments about the expense of various elements. "The flowers alone probably cost more than some people's car payments," she observed when we were discussing centerpiece arrangements. "I hope Michael can afford all these fancy touches Victoria wants." "Actually, Victoria's paying for most of the wedding expenses," Michael's mother corrected. "She insisted on handling the majority of the costs." Jennifer looked surprised but didn't pursue the topic further. The wedding ceremony was beautiful and proceeded without any family drama. Michael and I exchanged vows in front of our families and friends, and everyone seemed genuinely happy for our union. Problems began during the reception dinner. The reception included a traditional toast period where family members and close friends could share memories and well wishes for the bride and groom. Michael's parents spoke lovingly about both of us, my parents shared touching stories about my childhood, and several friends offered humorous anecdotes about our relationship. When it came time for Jennifer to speak, she began with what seemed like a standard sister-in-law toast. "I want to say how happy David and I are to welcome Victoria into the Patterson family," she began with a warm smile. "Michael has always been such a generous, loving person, and he deserves someone who appreciates those qualities." 200 wedding guests listened politely, expecting conventional well wishes for the new couple. But Jennifer's tone began to shift as she continued. "I also want to take this opportunity to share some thoughts about love, marriage, and what really matters in relationships," she said, her voice taking on a more pointed quality. "In today's world, it's easy for people to be attracted to relationships for the wrong reasons. Financial security, social status, material benefits, these things can sometimes overshadow genuine emotional connection." The room began to feel uncomfortable as guests realized Jennifer was moving away from traditional wedding toasts towards something more critical. "I want everyone here to know that the Patterson family has always valued authenticity and genuine love over superficial attractions," she continued, looking directly at me. "We've worked hard to build what we have, and we're protective of family members who might be targeted by people with ulterior motives." My heart began racing as I realized Jennifer was about to publicly accuse me of marrying Michael for money in front of our entire wedding reception. "Victoria," Jennifer said, turning to face me directly, "I hope you understand that Michael married you because he believes you love him for who he is, not for what he can provide financially." The room fell completely silent as 200 wedding guests processed what was happening. "I also hope everyone here understands that while Victoria may seem charming and accomplished, she's ultimately just another gold digger who saw an opportunity to marry into an established family business." The accusation hit the room like a bomb. Guests were staring at me, at Jennifer, at Michael, trying to understand why this was happening at our wedding reception. "Michael has always been too trusting, too generous, and I worry that Victoria has taken advantage of those qualities," Jennifer continued. "Everyone should know that she's marrying for money, not for love, and that she's nothing but a fortune hunter who doesn't deserve to be part of our family." Michael started to stand up, clearly intending to interrupt Jennifer's speech, but I put my hand on his arm to stop him. Jennifer had made specific claims about my financial motivations and my worth relative to Michael's that could be contradicted with documentation. I reached into my evening purse and pulled out a folded document that I had brought for legal purposes related to some property transfers we discussed with our attorney. "Jennifer," I said calmly, standing up from my seat at the head table, "since you've chosen to make claims about my financial motivations at my wedding reception, I think it's appropriate to clarify the actual financial dynamics of my marriage to Michael." I unfolded the document, which was a summary page from our prenuptial agreement. "This is our prenuptial agreement, which Michael and I signed to protect our respective assets before marriage." I began reading from the financial disclosure section. "According to the legal documents we filed with our attorney, my premarital net worth is $2.3 million, including business equity, real estate investments, and liquid assets." The room was completely silent as I continued. "Michael's premarital net worth is $180,000, including his house, retirement accounts, and his minority stake in Patterson Construction." I looked directly at Jennifer. "So when you suggest that I'm marrying Michael for his money, the actual financial facts show that I brought 13 times more wealth to this marriage than he did." The room erupted in murmurs and gasps as guests processed this information. "The prenup I insisted on signing protects my assets from becoming marital property," I continued. "So if anyone married for financial gain, it would be Michael benefiting from access to my wealth, not the other way around." Jennifer's face had gone completely pale. She was opening and closing her mouth without making any sound. "Additionally," I said, "I paid for 85% of this wedding reception that you're currently enjoying. The flowers, the food, the venue, the music. Almost everything you see here was purchased with my money, not Michael's or the Patterson family's. I folded the document and looked around the room at 200 wedding guests who now understood the reality of our financial situation. I didn't share my financial information before because I wanted to be loved for who I am, not what I have. But since Jennifer chose to publicly question my motives at my own wedding, I felt obligated to correct the record with facts rather than assumptions. I sat back down as Jennifer stood frozen at the microphone, clearly unable to continue her speech. Michael stood up and gently took the microphone from his sister-in-law. "I want to thank everyone for celebrating our marriage today," he said diplomatically. "Victoria and I are grateful for your love and support as we begin our life together." He returned to his seat without acknowledging Jennifer's accusations or my financial disclosure, which was probably the most gracious way to handle the situation. The reception continued, but the atmosphere had fundamentally changed. Guests approached me throughout the evening to express their shock at Jennifer's behavior and their amazement at learning about my financial success. "I had no idea you were so successful," my college roommate said. "You've always been so modest about your achievements." "What Jennifer did was inexcusable," Michael's aunt commented. "Using your wedding day to make false accusations was cruel and inappropriate." Several of Michael's business colleagues approached him to express their interest in learning more about my marketing firm, having been impressed by the financial success I'd revealed. Jennifer left the reception early without speaking to me or Michael again. David approached us before leaving to apologize for his wife's behavior. "I don't know what got into Jennifer," he said, looking embarrassed. "Her accusations were completely out of line, and I'm mortified that she disrupted your wedding reception. I think Jennifer had convinced herself of a narrative about Victoria that wasn't based in reality," Michael replied diplomatically. The aftermath of the wedding reception confrontation permanently altered family dynamics. Michael's parents were horrified by Jennifer's behavior and impressed by learning about my financial accomplishments. "We always knew Victoria was successful, but we had no idea she had built such substantial wealth," Michael's mother told us privately. "We're proud to have someone so accomplished joining our family." Several family members expressed that they felt embarrassed by Jennifer's assumptions and behavior. "Jennifer always acted like she was protecting the family from gold diggers," Michael's cousin observed, "but it turns out Victoria has more gold than anyone." The revelation about my wealth also changed how Michael's extended family interacted with me. Instead of treating me as the outsider who had married into their family, they began approaching me for business advice and networking opportunities. Jennifer's reputation within the family suffered significant damage. Her attempt to expose me as a gold digger had backfired spectacularly, revealing her own prejudices and misconceptions. 3 months after the wedding, Jennifer sent me a text message that was more defensive than apologetic. "I'm sorry if my comments at your wedding seemed harsh," she wrote. "I was just trying to protect Michael, and I may have misjudged your financial situation." The non-apology acknowledged no real wrongdoing and minimized her deliberate public attack as a simple misjudgment. I didn't respond to the text. Jennifer had shown her true character by using my wedding day to advance false narratives based on her own insecurities and assumptions about my worth. 6 months later, Jennifer attempted to rebuild her relationship with me by inviting me to join a family investment club she was organizing. "Since you're so successful with money," she said, "I thought you might want to share your expertise with the rest of us." The request was ironic coming from someone who had publicly accused me of having no money and marrying for financial gain. I politely declined the invitation. Jennifer had lost the right to benefit from my financial knowledge when she chose to attack my character at my wedding reception. Today, 2 years after our wedding, Michael and I have a strong marriage built on genuine love and mutual respect. Prenup that protected my assets has never been relevant because we've built our life together based on shared values rather than financial considerations. Michael has become involved in helping me grow Sterling Marketing Solutions, applying his project management skills to our business operations. Company has continued to grow, and my net worth has increased to approximately $3.8 million. The wedding confrontation taught me several important lessons about family dynamics and financial assumptions. First, people often project their own insecurities and limitations onto others. Jennifer's accusations about gold digging said more about her own relationship with money than about mine. Second, protecting your reputation sometimes requires sharing information you'd prefer to keep private. I had wanted to keep my financial success modest, but Jennifer's public attack made disclosure necessary. Third, documentation protects against false accusations. Prenup that Jennifer had suggested became the evidence that contradicted her claims about my motivations. Most importantly, the experience reinforced that genuine relationships are based on character and compatibility rather than financial considerations. Michael didn't marry me for my money because he didn't know how much I had. I didn't marry him for his money because he didn't have enough to be a financial motivation. We married because we love each other, share similar values, and want to build a life together. If you've ever been accused of gold digging when you were actually financially independent, remember that the accusation says more about the accuser's mindset than about your character. Document your assets, protect your interests with appropriate legal agreements, and don't let other people's insecurities dictate how you handle your financial privacy. Most importantly, choose partners who value you for who you are rather than what you have or what they think you want from them. If you enjoyed this story of wedding day accusations and prenup justice served, please give this video a like and subscribe to True Revenge for more stories of people who turned family assumptions against them. Share your own experiences with gold digger accusations in the comments below. Have you ever been accused of financial motivations when you were actually financially independent? Remember that true love is based on character and compatibility, and that financial security is something you build for yourself rather than something you seek from others. Thank you for listening to my story of wedding day revelations and prenup vindication. Sometimes the best response to financial accusations is simply having more money than the people making the accusations.